Marcus Chen wiped the frost from his visor and checked the temperature gauge on his suit's display, -47 degrees Celsius. Another beautiful day on Kepler 442b, he thought grimly. The mining operation had been running for 3 years now, extracting rare earth minerals from this ice-locked world, and Marcus had seen every kind of weather the planet could throw at them. None of it was pleasant. As the shift foreman for Titan Industries, Marcus oversaw the daily operations of mining station Alpha 7. 230 miners worked under his supervision, operating massive extractors that carved through permafrost to reach the valuable deposits below. The work was dangerous, the conditions brutal, but the pay was good enough to keep people coming back for more. He trudged through the snow toward the main facility, his boots crunching on the frozen ground. The station's lights cut through the perpetual twilight that passed for daylight on this world. Twin suns hung low on the horizon, providing barely enough warmth to keep the atmosphere from freezing solid. Marcus had long ago stopped wondering why humans insisted on colonizing places that seemed designed to kill them. The communication array crackled to life as he approached the main building. "Boss, we've got movement on the perimeter sensors," came the voice of Sarah Martinez, his deputy foreman. "Something big heading our way from the northeast." Marcus frowned. The wildlife on Kepler 442b was sparse and mostly harmless. The cold-adapted creatures that did exist were small, furry things that avoided human settlements. "How big are we talking, Sarah?" "Thermals show multiple signatures. Really big. And they're moving together, like a family group." Inside the station's control room, Marcus studied the sensor readings on the main display. 3 large heat signatures were indeed approaching the mining facility, moving slowly through the snow. They were still several kilometers away, but their size was impressive. Each signature was roughly the size of a small shuttle. "Could be indigenous megafauna," suggested Dr. Elena Vasquez, the station's xenobiologist. She'd been studying local life forms for the past year and had cataloged dozens of species, though none approaching this size. The planetary survey might have missed them during the initial assessment. Marcus nodded, but something felt off. The movement pattern was too deliberate, too purposeful. These weren't animals wandering randomly through their territory. They were heading directly for the mining station with clear intent. "Put the facility on yellow alert," he ordered. "Non-essential personnel to shelter positions. Mining operations continue, but keep security teams ready." 2 hours later, the approaching figures became visible through the swirling snow. Marcus stood at the observation deck with binoculars, trying to make sense of what he was seeing. The shapes were definitely alive, moving on 4 legs with powerful, graceful strides. As they drew closer, details became clearer, and Marcus felt his breath catch in his throat. "Dear God," whispered Dr. Vasquez beside him. "Are those dragons?" The creatures approaching the station defied easy categorization. They possessed long, serpentine necks, powerful bodies covered in scales that seemed to shift color in the dim light, and wings folded against their sides. The largest of the 3 stood nearly 6 meters tall at the shoulder, while the smaller 2 appeared to be juveniles. "They're not in any of our databases," reported Lieutenant Torres from the security station. "No match for known species on Kepler 442b or any other surveyed world." Marcus watched as the dragon-like beings stopped approximately 100 meters from the station's outer perimeter. The largest one, clearly the adult, lifted its massive head and seemed to study the human facility with intelligent eyes. There was no aggression in its posture, no signs of territorial behavior. If anything, the creature appeared desperate. "Sir, we're receiving some kind of transmission," called Communications Officer Park. "It's not on any standard frequency, but our universal translators are picking up patterns that suggest language." "Put it through," Marcus ordered. The speakers crackled with static, and then a voice emerged. It was deep, resonant, and unmistakably alien, but the translation matrix rendered it in clear English. "Warm ones who dig in the frozen ground, we seek shelter from the great cold. Our young are dying. Please, we have traveled far seeking the warmth your structures provide." Stunned silence filled the control room. These weren't just animals. They were sentient beings capable of language and complex thought. And they were asking for help. "Should we respond?" asked Sarah, her hand hovering over the communication controls. Marcus stared out at the alien family. The 2 smaller dragons were huddled close to their parent, and even from this distance he could see they were shivering. The adult scales had lost their earlier color-shifting property and now appeared dull, almost gray. They were clearly suffering from exposure to the extreme cold. "Boss, we need to make a decision," urged Dr. Vasquez. "First contact protocols suggest we should maintain distance and report to Earth Command for instructions. But if what they're saying is true, those young ones might not survive the time it would take to get authorization." Marcus finished. He'd seen enough death on this frozen world. Workers who'd suffered equipment failures, who'd been caught outside during the worst storms. He knew what prolonged exposure to Kepler 442b's climate could do to living beings. The transmission came again, weaker this time. "Please, warm ones, we do not ask to enter your dwelling, only to rest near your heat sources. We have nothing to offer but our gratitude and our promise of no harm." Marcus made his decision. "Open a channel," he told Park. The young man's eyes widened. "Sir, are you sure?" "Regulations clearly state—" "I'm aware of regulations," Marcus cut him off. "Open the channel." When the connection was established, Marcus spoke slowly and clearly. "We hear you, travelers. My name is Marcus Chen, and I am the leader of this facility. You say your young are in danger?" "Yes, warm one Marcus Chen. The great cold came early this season. Our usual shelter caves collapsed in the ice storms. We have searched for 7 days for safe warmth. Your structures sing with heat in our vision." Marcus looked around the control room at his team's faces. Fear, curiosity, and concern warred in their expressions. This wasn't supposed to happen. First contact with intelligent alien life was supposed to be handled by diplomats and scientists, not a mining foreman on a backwater ice world. But here they were, and 3 alien beings were freezing to death outside his facility. "Stand by," Marcus transmitted. "We need to discuss this." The voice that came back was filled with gratitude despite the circumstances. "We understand, Marcus Chen, we wait." The control room erupted in heated discussion the moment Marcus cut the transmission. Voices overlapped as his team debated the unprecedented situation unfolding before them. "We can't just ignore first contact protocols," Lieutenant Torres insisted, his military training evident in his rigid posture. "This needs to go through proper channels. Earth Command should be making this decision, not us." "Those protocols were written by people sitting in comfortable offices," Dr. Vasquez countered. "They never anticipated a family of sentient beings literally dying from exposure outside our doorstep." Sarah Martinez pulled up the facility's thermal management systems on her workstation.
"Even if we wanted to help, how would we do it?"
"Our heating systems are designed for human habitation. We don't know if extending them outside would even be effective for their physiology." Marcus studied the readings from the external sensors. The dragon family hadn't moved from their position. The adult remained standing, but the 2 juveniles had settled onto the frozen ground, pressing close together for warmth. Their thermal signatures were notably weaker than they'd been an hour ago. "Dr. Vasquez, what's your professional assessment?" Marcus asked. "As our xenobiologist, what are we looking at here?" Elena pulled up her portable scanner readings on the main display. "Based on their thermal output and behavior patterns, they're definitely suffering from hypothermia. Their body temperature is dropping steadily. The young ones especially won't survive much longer in these conditions." "How much longer?" Marcus pressed. "At their current rate of heat loss, maybe 6 hours for the juveniles. The adult might last 12, but that's optimistic." Communications Officer Park looked up from his station nervously. "Sir, we're receiving an automated query from the orbital relay station. They're asking for our status report. If we don't respond within the next 2 hours, they'll flag it as a potential emergency situation." Marcus rubbed his temples. The orbital station maintained communication with Earth Command. If they raised an alert, it would bring scrutiny that could complicate everything. But if he filed a standard report and mentioned the dragon family, the response from Earth might take days or weeks to arrive. "What's our current power output?" he asked Sarah, running at 73% capacity. "The primary geothermal tap is performing well, and we've got plenty of surplus energy from the secondary reactors." Marcus walked to the observation window and looked out at the alien family again. The adult dragon's head was turned toward the facility, and even through the swirling snow, Marcus could swear the creature was watching the control room. There was something profoundly intelligent in that gaze, something that spoke of awareness and hope. "Torres, what's our defensive capability if this goes wrong?" Marcus asked. The security chief consulted his displays. We've got standard mining equipment that could serve as weapons if necessary. Plasma cutters, explosive charges for excavation, heavy machinery, plus personal sidearms for the security team. But honestly, sir, if those creatures decided to attack, I'm not sure our defenses would be adequate. They're asking for help, Dr. Vasquez pointed out. Their body language shows submission, not aggression. The adult is keeping its wings folded and head lowered in what appears to be a non-threatening posture. Marcus made his decision. Sarah, I want you to run a simulation. Extend our heating grid to include the area where they're resting. Show me power consumption and effectiveness. Sir, are you sure about this? Torres asked. I'm sure that I won't stand by and watch sentient beings die when we have the means to help them, Marcus replied firmly. Run the simulation, Sarah. The deputy foreman's fingers flew across her workstation. After several minutes, a three-dimensional model appeared on the main screen, showing the facility's heating network extended into the surrounding area. It's actually doable, Sarah reported, surprise evident in her voice. We can tap into the geothermal lines and run heated air through temporary conduits to create warm zones outside the facility. Power consumption would increase by about 15%, well within our capabilities. How long would it take to set up? Marcus asked. Emergency heating extension? Maybe 4 hours if we use the prefabricated emergency shelters and connect them to the main system. Marcus nodded. 4 hours. He looked back out at the alien family and saw that one of the juveniles had stopped moving entirely. They were running out of time. Do it, he ordered. Emergency heating deployment. Sarah, coordinate with the engineering teams. Torres, keep security on standby, but tell them this is a humanitarian mission, not a military operation. Sir, Park interrupted. What do I tell the orbital station when they call for our status report? Marcus considered this. Tell them we're dealing with a weather emergency that's affecting our external operations. It's not technically a lie. As his team sprang into action, Marcus opened the communication channel again. Dragon family, this is Marcus Chen. We are preparing warming areas for you. It will take some time to arrange safely. The response came immediately, tinged with relief. We are grateful beyond words, Marcus Chen. May we know how we should address you properly? My designation translates as Flame That Warms Stone, but you may call me Ashral. These are my offspring, Kith and Syra. Ashral, Marcus repeated, testing the alien name. I am simply Marcus. Can you tell me about your condition? Are your young able to wait while we prepare? Kith grows very weak. She is the smaller of my offspring. Syra maintains strength, but not for much longer. We have not eaten in 3 days, having focused all energy on travel and warmth. Food. Marcus hadn't considered that aspect. What do your people normally eat, Ashral? We consume the crystal formations that grow in deep caves and sometimes the warm-blooded creatures that shelter there. But the great cold has made both scarce. Dr. Vasquez looked up from her workstation excitedly. Marcus, the crystal formations they're describing sound like they could be mineral deposits similar to what we're mining. And we've got emergency protein rations that might be suitable for their physiology. Outside, engineering teams in environmental suits were already deploying the prefabricated emergency shelters. The structures were designed for situations where the main facility became uninhabitable, equipped with their own heating systems and life support. 3 of them would create a warm zone large enough for the dragon family. Ashral, Marcus transmitted, my people are creating a warm space for you near our facility. It should be ready soon. We also want to offer food, but we need to be careful. Our food might not be safe for your people. Any offer of sustenance is welcome. Marcus Chen. Our digestive systems are adaptable. We have survived by necessity on many different worlds. Marcus paused at that statement. Many different worlds? Your people travel between planets? We are. How do you translate? Wanderers, seekers. Our homeworld became uninhabitable long ago. We travel in family groups, seeking places where we might survive and perhaps rebuild. The implications hit Marcus like a physical blow. This wasn't just first contact with an intelligent species. These were refugees, survivors of some cosmic catastrophe, reduced to wandering from world to world in search of shelter, and now they'd ended up on one of the most inhospitable planets humans had ever tried to colonize. How many family groups like yours are out there? Marcus asked quietly. Many, came the simple response. We do not know how many still survive. We have not encountered others of our kind in many seasons. Sarah's voice cut through Marcus's thoughts. Heating stations are active, sir. External temperature in the shelter area is rising toward human comfortable levels. Marcus watched through the observation window as the dragon family slowly approached the warm zones. The adult Ashral moved carefully, testing each step before allowing the juveniles to follow. When they reached the heated areas, the relief was immediately visible. The young dragon's scales began to shift color again, returning to vibrant patterns as their body temperatures rose. The warming is miraculous. Ashral's voice came through the communicator, filled with emotion. My offspring already grow stronger. How do we repay such kindness? Marcus smiled, the first genuine smile he'd worn in months. No repayment necessary, Ashral. This is what people do for each other. People? Sentient beings. Thinking, feeling creatures who care about others' welfare. There was a long pause before Ashral responded. We have encountered few such people in our wanderings. Marcus Chin. Most see us as monsters to be feared or driven away. Looking out at the dragon family settling into their temporary warm shelter, Marcus felt something shift inside him. This was bigger than mining operations or corporate regulations. This was about what it meant to be human in the vast, cold universe. 3 days had passed since the dragon family took shelter near mining station Alpha 7. What began as an emergency rescue had evolved into something unprecedented. The first sustained contact between humans and an intelligent alien species. Marcus found himself managing not just a mining operation, but an impromptu diplomatic mission that was growing more complex by the hour. The temporary shelters had worked perfectly. Ashral and her offspring were recovering their strength, their scales now displaying vibrant colors that shifted from deep blues to warm golds as they moved. Dr. Vasquez had been documenting everything, her excitement barely contained as she studied the first living examples of non-human intelligence humanity had encountered. Their cellular structure is fascinating. Elena explained to Marcus as they watched the dragons through the observation window. Silicon-based rather than carbon-based, which explains their ability to survive in extreme cold better than we initially thought. They're not actually suffering from hypothermia, as severely as we feared. They were just energy depleted. Like running out of fuel rather than freezing? Marcus asked. Exactly. Their bodies can handle cold, but they need a constant energy source to maintain their metabolic processes. The warming stations are providing that energy, allowing their natural systems to function properly again. The juvenile named Kith had made a remarkable recovery. She was now moving around the sheltered area with increasing confidence, occasionally spreading her small wings to test the air currents. Syra, the larger juvenile, had begun what could only be described as playing, chasing thermal updrafts from the heating vents. Sir, Communications Officer Park called out from his station. We're receiving another inquiry from the orbital relay. They want to know why our power consumption has increased and why we haven't filed our standard geological reports. Marcus sighed. The bureaucracy was catching up with them. What's our timeline before they send an inspection shuttle? Maybe a week if we keep giving them non-specific answers about weather delays. And how long before Earth Command expects a comprehensive report on our operations? Monthly reports are due in 12 days, sir. Marcus nodded grimly. In 12 days, he'd have to explain to corporate headquarters why he'd made first contact with aliens without authorization, spent company resources on humanitarian aid, and potentially violated several interstellar protocols. But looking out at Ashral's family, he found he didn't regret the decision. The communication system activated, and Ashral's translated voice filled the control room. Marcus Chen, might we speak? There are matters we wish to discuss with you. Of course, Ashral. What's on your mind? We have recovered much strength thanks to your kindness, but we cannot remain here forever. Your people will surely come to investigate, and we do not wish to bring trouble upon you for helping us. Marcus frowned. What kind of trouble are you expecting? There was a long pause before Ashral responded. In our wanderings, we have learned that most species view us with fear. Our appearance suggests predators to many beings. Some have tried to capture us for study, others have simply attacked. We have become careful about extended contact with other peoples. Dr. Vasquez leaned forward eagerly. Marcus asked them about their travels, where they've been, what they've seen. This could revolutionize our understanding of galactic civilization. But Marcus was more concerned with the immediate implications. Ashral, are you saying that other species already know about interstellar travel? That there's some kind of galactic community we haven't encountered yet? The galaxy is vast and filled with thinking beings, Ashral confirmed. Some friendly, some hostile, most simply indifferent to the struggles of wanderers like ourselves. Your people are unusual. Most species we have encountered are either very advanced or very primitive. You fall somewhere between, with remarkable potential. How do you mean? You have achieved interstellar travel, but you are still expanding, still learning. Most species either become stagnant once they achieve spaceflight, or they become aggressive and territorial. Your people show curiosity and adaptability. These are rare traits. Sarah Martinez looked up from her workstation with concern. Sir, if there are hostile species out there, shouldn't Earth Command know about this immediately? Marcus considered the question. If Ashral was telling the truth, humanity was walking blindly into a galaxy full of intelligent species, some of which might view humans as threats or resources to be exploited. But he also realized that his small mining facility had become an accidental embassy, and the decisions made here could affect humanity's first impressions on the galactic stage. Ashral, Marcus said carefully, what would you recommend we do? How should our species proceed if we want to avoid the hostility you've experienced? Learn before you expand further, came the immediate response. Many species make the mistake of spreading across the galaxy before understanding the territories and alliances that already exist. Your people are fortunate to have found worlds like this one, far from the established powers. Established powers? Dr. Vasquez asked, unable to contain her scientific curiosity. 3 major galactic civilizations control most of the habitable worlds in this region, Ashral explained. The hegemony, which seeks to absorb other species into their collective. The Trade Federation, which views everything in terms of resource acquisition, and the isolationists, who destroy any species that ventures too close to their territory. Marcus felt a chill that had nothing to do with Kepler 442b's climate. And you've encountered all of these? We are survivors of the hegemony's expansion. Our homeworld was absorbed when I was young. Many of our people joined them willingly, believing they offered security and advancement. Others, like my family line, chose to flee rather than lose our independence. The control room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's expansion into space wasn't just about finding new worlds and resources. They were entering a complex political landscape that could determine the species' survival. Sir, Lieutenant Torres spoke up, his military background evident in his serious tone. If this intelligence is accurate, Earth needs to know immediately. We could be walking into a war zone without realizing it. Marcus knew Torres was right, but he also understood the delicate position they were in. Ashral, would you be willing to speak with our leaders? To share this information formally? Another long pause. We have learned to be cautious about involving ourselves in the affairs of expanding species. Often it leads to pressure for us to choose sides or provide intelligence about other civilizations. We prefer to remain neutral wanderers. But you've helped us by sharing this information, Marcus pointed out, because you helped my family without thought of gain. This creates obligation but also opportunity. Perhaps your people can learn to navigate galactic politics more wisely than most. Dr. Vasquez had been taking notes frantically during the conversation. Marcus, they're offering us knowledge that could take centuries of exploration to discover on our own. The strategic advantage of knowing about these galactic powers before we encounter them could be invaluable. But only if we handle it correctly, Marcus replied. He was beginning to understand the weight of responsibility that had landed on his shoulders. The decisions made in the next few days could influence humanity's future in the galaxy. Ashral, what would you need to feel safe speaking with our leaders? What assurances would make this possible? Guarantees of safe passage for my family regardless of what your leaders decide. We must be free to leave if we choose, and understanding that we will not be treated as prisoners or subjects for study. Those seem like reasonable terms, Marcus said. Though I should point out that I'm just a mining foreman. I don't have the authority to make binding agreements on behalf of humanity. But you have the authority to make moral choices, Ashral observed, and that may be more important than official titles. Outside the observation window, young Kith had discovered how to create small thermal updrafts by positioning herself near the heating vents. She was using them to practice short flights, her small wings carrying her in graceful arcs around the sheltered area. It was a reminder that despite the galactic political complexities they were discussing, this was still fundamentally about a family seeking safety and warmth. Marcus made another decision that would change everything. Ashral, if you're willing to trust us, I'd like to arrange a meeting between you and our leadership. Not as a prisoner or subject, but as a guest and potential ally. You would risk your career for wanderers you have known for only days? I would risk my career to do what's right, Marcus replied. And I believe helping your people and sharing your knowledge with mine is the right thing to do. For the first time since their initial contact, Ashral's response carried something that sounded like laughter. Perhaps there is hope for your species after all, Marcus Chen. The encrypted transmission reached Earth Command exactly 7 hours and 23 minutes after Marcus sent it through the orbital relay station. He'd spent most of those hours pacing the control room, second-guessing his decision to formally report the first contact situation. But with corporate inspectors due to arrive within days, secrecy was no longer an option. Sir, we're receiving a priority response from Earth Command, Communications Officer Park announced, his voice tense with anxiety. It's marked as highest classification level. Marcus straightened his shoulders. Put it through to my private office, and Park? Not a word about this to anyone outside the senior staff. In the privacy of his office, Marcus activated the secure communication terminal. The face that appeared on the screen belonged to Admiral Sarah Chen, no relation despite the shared surname. She was the director of the Colonial Development Authority, and looked like she hadn't slept in the 7 hours since receiving his report. Foreman Chen, Admiral Chen began without preamble. I've read your initial report 3 times, and I'm still trying to process what you're telling me. You're claiming first contact with intelligent aliens, and that these aliens have provided intelligence about galactic civilizations? Yes, Admiral. I've documented everything, and included Dr. Vasquez's xenobiological assessments. The evidence is substantial. Admiral Chen rubbed her temples. Marcus, do you understand the magnitude of what you're reporting? If this is accurate, it changes everything. Our expansion plans, our defensive strategies, our entire understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy. I'm aware of the implications, Admiral. That's why I felt compelled to report it despite the irregularities in how first contact occurred. Irregularities, the Admiral repeated dryly. You mean the part where you provided aid to unknown aliens without authorization and entered into unauthorized diplomatic communications? Marcus met her gaze steadily through the video link. I mean the part where I prevented 3 sentient beings from dying of exposure when I had the means to help them. If following proper protocols would have meant letting them die, then yes, I violated protocols. To his surprise, Admiral Chen smiled slightly. That's exactly what I hoped you'd say. The preliminary psychological profile we ran on you suggested you'd prioritize humanitarian concerns over bureaucracy. It's one of the reasons we're fast-tracking this situation. Fast-tracking? I'm sending a diplomatic team to your location immediately. They'll arrive via emergency transit in 18 hours. Until then, you are officially designated as humanity's first contact ambassador with full diplomatic authority. Marcus blinked in surprise. Admiral, I'm not qualified for diplomatic work. I'm a mining engineer. You're qualified by the fact that you've successfully made contact with an alien species without starting a war or causing an incident. Sometimes the best diplomats are people who just treat others with basic decency. The Admiral leaned forward in the video feed. Marcus, I need you to understand something. The information these aliens have provided about galactic civilizations has already been forwarded to our Strategic Planning Committee. If they're telling the truth about hostile species in our region, we need to know everything they can tell us. Ashral has been willing to share information, but she's made it clear that her family needs guarantees of safety and freedom to leave if they choose. Agreed. We're not in the business of forcing cooperation from refugee families. But Marcus, there's something else. We've been analyzing the data from your sector, and we've found some concerning anomalies. Admiral Chen manipulated something off-screen, and Marcus's display showed a star chart of the local region. Red markers indicated several nearby systems. Long-range sensors have detected artificial structures in 3 systems within 50 light-years of your position, she continued. We initially classified them as natural phenomena, but given what your alien contact has told us about galactic civilizations, we're reassessing. Marcus studied the chart. You think one of these galactic powers has infrastructure near us? It's possible, which means your mining operation may have accidentally put you on the frontier of interstellar politics. The diplomatic team I'm sending includes military advisors and xenosociologists. We need to understand what we're dealing with. After ending the communication with Admiral Chen, Marcus returned to the control room to find his senior staff. engaged in heated discussion. Dr. Vasquez was showing something on her tablet to Lieutenant Torres while Sarah Martinez monitored the external heating. "Systems, what's the situation?" Marcus asked. "We've got movement," Torres reported. "Long-range sensors are picking up 3 more thermal signatures approaching from the west. They're still far out, but they're definitely heading this way." Marcus felt his stomach tighten. "More of Ashral's people?" "Unknown," Torres replied. "But their movement pattern is different. Faster, more direct, and they're bigger than Ashral's family." Dr. Vasquez looked up from her tablet excitedly. "Marcus, I've been analyzing the linguistic patterns in our communications with Ashral. Their language shows evidence of contact with at least 4 other distinct communication systems. This suggests they've encountered multiple alien species. Is that good or bad? It means they're experienced with first contact situations. They know how to communicate with unfamiliar species, which explains why our universal translators were able to establish communication so quickly." Marcus opened a communication channel to the Dragon family's shelter. Ashral were detecting more large signatures approaching from the west. "Are you expecting others of your kind?" The response came quickly, and for the first time since their initial meeting, Ashral's voice carried tension. "From the west? That is concerning. No other family groups were in this region when we arrived. Could they be more refugees like yourselves? Perhaps. But Western approach suggests they came from the direction of the established territories. This could indicate pursuit." Marcus exchanged glances with his team. "Pursuit? Someone is hunting your people?" "Not hunting specifically," Ashral clarified. "But some authorities view wandering family groups as security risks or sources of intelligence. They sometimes send retrieval teams to capture refugees for questioning." Lieutenant Torres stepped forward. "Sir, if these incoming contacts are hostile to our guests, we could be looking at our first interstellar incident. What are our defensive capabilities against unknown alien technology?" Marcus asked. "Honestly, we have no idea. Our mining equipment might be effective against some types of technology, but we're essentially guessing." Dr. Vasquez raised another concern. "Marcus, if we're caught between refugees and whoever might be pursuing them, we need to understand the political implications. Helping refugees might be seen as taking sides in a galactic conflict." Marcus looked out at Ashral's family, still recovering their strength in the warming shelters. The juveniles were playing together, oblivious to the potential danger approaching. He thought about Admiral Chen's words about treating others with basic decency. "Ashral," he transmitted, "what would these retrieval teams want? Would they be interested in us or just in your family?" "Unknown. Your people are new to them, if they are aware of your people at all. They might view you as potential allies, threats, or simply obstacles to their mission. And if we tried to protect you?" There was a long pause before Ashral answered. "Marcus Chen, your people have shown us great kindness, but we cannot ask you to risk conflict with galactic powers for our sake. If these are indeed retrieval teams, we will go with them peacefully to protect your facility and people." "That's not how this works," Marcus replied firmly. "You're under our protection now. We don't abandon people who've come to us for help." Sarah Martinez looked up from her monitoring station. "Sir, the approaching signatures have increased speed. They'll be here in approximately 6 hours." Marcus made another command decision that would reshape humanity's galactic future. "Torres, put the facility on full alert. All non-essential personnel to secure positions. Sarah, increase power to the warming shelters and prepare the emergency bunkers. Dr. Vasquez, I want you to document everything that happens next." "And the approaching contacts?" Torres asked. Marcus thought about Admiral Chen's words about diplomacy and basic decency. "We treat them the same way we treated Ashral's family. We communicate, we try to understand their intentions, and we protect those who've sought our help. Sir, that could mean shooting at aliens with advanced technology using mining equipment," Torres pointed out. "Then that's what we'll do," Marcus replied. "Sometimes being human means standing up for what's right even when it's dangerous." Outside, the wind was picking up and snow began to fall harder. The thermal signatures of the approaching unknowns continued their steady advance toward Mining Station Alpha 7, where humanity was about to learn its first hard lesson about galactic politics. The approaching ships materialized through Kepler 442b's perpetual snow squalls, like ghosts made solid. 3 sleek angular vessels descended through the atmosphere with movements too smooth and controlled to be natural flight. Marcus watched from the observation deck as they settled onto the frozen ground, roughly half a kilometer from the mining station, their dark hulls absorbing the weak light from the twin suns. "They're definitely artificial," Dr. Vasquez reported, studying the sensor readings. "The hull composition doesn't match any known human materials, and their flight characteristics suggest propulsion systems we don't understand." Lieutenant Torres coordinated the facility's defensive preparations while maintaining a running commentary. "All security teams are in position. Mining equipment has been reconfigured for potential defensive use. Emergency protocols are active." The alien ships had been silent since their arrival 20 minutes ago. No communications, no visible activity, no signs of their occupants. The tension in the control room was thick enough to cut with a plasma torch. "Ashral," Marcus transmitted to the Dragon family's shelter. "Can you tell us anything about those ships?" "Do you recognize the design?" "I do," came the somber response. "They belong to the Trade Federation. This is worse than I feared." "Worse how?" "The Trade Federation treats all interactions as business transactions. They do not recognize concepts like sanctuary or refugee status. If they have come for us, they will view your protection as interference with their property acquisition." Dr. Vasquez leaned forward with interest. "Property acquisition? They view your people as property? To them, any resource that can be harvested, studied, or utilized is property. Wandering families like ours represent intelligence assets. Our knowledge of various worlds and civilizations has value." Marcus felt anger building in his chest. "They're slave traders." "The distinction is largely semantic," Ashral replied. "They prefer terms like resource allocation and information management. The practical result is the same." Before Marcus could respond, the communication system activated with an incoming transmission from the alien ships. The voice that emerged was crisp, businesslike, and spoke perfect English. "Human mining facility designation Alpha 7. This is Trade Federation acquisition vessel profit margin. We are here to retrieve 3 escaped assets that have taken unauthorized shelter at your location. Please prepare them for immediate transfer." The casual tone, the reduction of Ashral's family to assets, the assumption that humans would simply comply, all of it struck Marcus as profoundly wrong. He activated the response channel. "This is Marcus Chen, administrator of Mining Station Alpha 7. The individuals you're referring to are guests who requested aid. They're under our protection." A pause, then the alien voice returned with what might have been amusement. "Administrator Chen, we appreciate your concern, but you appear to misunderstand the situation. These assets belong to the Trade Federation under Galactic Commerce Regulation 47B. Your species has no standing in galactic law to claim protective jurisdiction." "Sarah." Martinez pulled up the power grid displays. "Sir, they're scanning us. Some kind of energy probe is analyzing our facility's systems." "Is it harmful?" Marcus asked. "Unknown, but it's definitely mapping our capabilities." Dr. Vasquez had been studying the linguistic patterns of the alien communication. "Marcus, their translator, is remarkably sophisticated. They've somehow learned our language perfectly in just a few minutes of monitoring." The Trade Federation vessel transmitted again. "We have completed our assessment of your facility's defensive and technological capabilities. You possess industrial equipment but no weapon systems designed for interstellar conflict. We strongly recommend cooperation with our asset retrieval operation." Lieutenant Torres checked his security displays grimly. "Sir, they're right about our defensive limitations. If they have advanced weapons technology, we're severely outmatched." Marcus looked out at Ashral's family, still huddled in their warming shelters. The juveniles, Kith and Syra, had stopped playing and were pressed close to their mother, sensing the tension even if they didn't understand the specifics. "Trade Federation vessel," Marcus transmitted. "We don't recognize your authority over refugees who have sought asylum at our facility. These individuals are free beings who came to us voluntarily. Administrator Chen, your species' concepts of individual freedom are noted but irrelevant under galactic commerce law. These assets were processed for information extraction 6 standard months ago, but escaped before the procedure could be completed. They represent significant investment in acquisition and processing costs." The casual mention of information extraction and processing made Marcus's blood run cold. What exactly does that involve? Standard memory harvesting and neural mapping procedures. The assets possess extensive knowledge of unexplored regions and uncontacted species. This information has considerable market value for exploration and colonization ventures. Dr. Vasquez looked horrified. They're talking about forcible memory extraction, probably fatal to the subjects. Marcus opened a private channel to Ashral. How dangerous is this information extraction they're describing? It would kill us, Ashral confirmed. The Trade Federation's neural mapping technology is efficient, but not designed to preserve the subject's consciousness. They prefer to extract all information at once rather than conduct lengthy interviews. And they consider this legal under their laws? Under galactic commerce regulations, any species without formal recognition in the Galactic Trade Compact has no legal rights. Your people are not yet signatories, so you also have no legal standing to challenge Federation actions. Marcus felt the weight of representing not just his mining facility, but potentially all of humanity in this first diplomatic test. The decisions made in the next few minutes could set precedents for how other galactic civilizations viewed humans. Trade Federation vessel, Marcus transmitted. We reject your claim to these individuals and your authority over this situation. They are under human protection. The response came quickly, and the previously businesslike tone carried a harder edge. Administrator Chen, you are interfering with lawful Federation operations. This constitutes a violation of Galactic Commerce Regulation 15A, obstruction of asset recovery. We are authorized to use appropriate force to resolve such violations. Are you threatening us? We are informing you of standard enforcement procedures. You have 15 of your time units to surrender the assets. Failure to comply will result in enforcement action against your facility. Lieutenant Torres stepped up to Marcus's side. Sir, 15 minutes to make a decision that could start a war between humanity and an unknown alien power. Sarah Martinez was monitoring external sensors. The ships are powering up some kind of energy systems. Whatever weapons they have, they're preparing to use them. Dr. Vasquez pulled up her xenobiological data. Marcus, we need to consider the broader implications. If we fight and lose, it establishes humanity as a hostile species to the Trade Federation. If we surrender Ashral's family, we become collaborators in what amounts to murder. Marcus thought about Admiral Chen's words about treating others with basic decency. He thought about the children playing in the warming shelters, and about the principle that some things were worth fighting for regardless of the odds. All stations, prepare for defensive action, he ordered. We're not handing over refugees to be murdered regardless of their laws or threats. Sir, Torres asked, what exactly is our plan against advanced alien technology? Marcus smiled grimly. We're going to show them what humans do when someone threatens people under our protection. We might not win, but we'll make sure they know they've been in a fight. Outside, the Trade Federation ships completed their power-up sequence, and targeting beams began sweeping across the mining facility structures. The first Trade Federation attack came precisely at the 15-minute deadline. Energy beams lanced out from the alien vessels, striking the mining facility's outer structures with surgical precision. But instead of the devastating destruction Marcus expected, the beams seemed designed to disable rather than destroy. They're targeting our power grid and communication arrays, Sarah Martinez reported as sparks flew from several control panels. Minimal structural damage, but they're trying to cut us off from outside contact and reduce our operational capability. Clever, Lieutenant Torres observed grimly. They want the facility intact, probably for interrogation and intelligence gathering after they recover their assets. Marcus activated the facility's emergency communication system, a hardened backup designed to function during equipment failures. All teams implement Defensive Plan Bravo. Sarah, reroute power through the backup geothermal lines. Torres, deploy mining equipment as planned. Outside, the mining facility's heavy industrial equipment began moving into defensive positions. Massive excavation machines with plasma cutting arrays were repositioned to provide overlapping fields of fire. It wasn't military hardware, but the industrial plasma cutters could punch through solid rock, and the mining charges packed considerable explosive power. Trade Federation vessel, Marcus transmitted through the emergency system. Cease your attack immediately. You are firing on a civilian facility. The response was immediate and coldly professional. Administrator Chen, you have chosen to resist lawful asset recovery. Standard enforcement protocols are now in effect. Surrender the assets and your facility will not be further damaged. Dr. Vasquez was monitoring the Dragon family's shelter through the emergency sensors. Marcus Ashral is trying to communicate with us, but the interference from their weapons is blocking normal channels. Can you boost the signal? I can try, but it'll mean reducing power to other systems. Do it. Moments later, Ashral's voice came through the static-filled emergency channel. Marcus Chen, you must not sacrifice your people for us. We will surrender to prevent further harm to your facility. Negative, Ashral. We don't abandon people under our protection. But your weapons cannot harm their ships effectively. Their hulls are designed to withstand much more powerful attacks than your mining equipment can provide. Marcus was about to respond when Torres called out urgently, "Sir, we've got incoming. 3 more ships dropping out of orbit." On the external displays, new vessels were descending through the atmosphere. But these ships looked different from the Trade Federation craft. Where the Federation vessels were sleek and angular, these newcomers were more organic in appearance, with flowing lines and what appeared to be living hull surfaces. Unknown vessels. This is Trade Federation Acquisition Vessel Profit Margin, came the transmission from the alien attackers. You are entering a lawful enforcement zone. Withdraw immediately or face appropriate response. The reply that came back was transmitted on open frequencies, allowing Marcus and his team to hear it clearly. The voice was deep, melodious, and spoke with absolute authority. Trade Federation vessel, this is Captain Theis of the Refuge Fleet Ship Sanctuary. We are responding to a distress beacon from one of our protected refugee families. Cease your aggressive actions immediately. Marcus looked at Dr. Vasquez. Refuge Fleet. She was already pulling up linguistic analysis on her tablet. The communication patterns suggest another non-human species, but their translator technology is even more sophisticated than the Federation's. The Trade Federation vessel responded with obvious irritation. Captain Theis, these assets are legally claimed under Federation commerce regulations. The Refuge Fleet has no jurisdiction in this matter. The Refuge Fleet recognizes no authority that claims sentient beings as property, Captain Theis replied firmly. The family you are attempting to capture is under our protection, as is the human facility providing them aid. Marcus felt a surge of hope. Ashral's people weren't alone after all, but his relief was tempered by the realization that his small mining facility had become the center of what appeared to be an interstellar confrontation. Captain Theis, Marcus transmitted. This is Administrator Marcus Chen of the human facility. We're grateful for your intervention, but we don't want to escalate this into a larger conflict. Administrator Chen, came the reply. Your protection of refugee families has been noted and appreciated. However, the Trade Federation's attack on your facility cannot be allowed to stand. They must learn that there are consequences for using force against those who show compassion. The Trade Federation ships were repositioning, their weapon systems now targeting both the mining facility and the newly arrived Refuge Fleet vessels. The situation was spiraling toward a 3-way battle that could end badly for everyone involved. Sir, Torres reported, the Federation ships are charging their main weapons. Energy readings suggest much more powerful systems than what they used in their initial attack. Dr. Vasquez was monitoring communications traffic between the opposing fleets. Marcus, there's significant encrypted data exchange happening between the refugee fleet ships. They're coordinating something. Before Marcus could ask what, the space above Kepler 442b lit up with energy discharges. The refuge fleet ships launched what appeared to be spherical projectiles that expanded into energy nets, attempting to ensnare the Trade Federation vessels. The Federation ships responded with focused beam weapons that sliced through the nets while simultaneously targeting the refuge fleet. They're fighting a space battle over our heads, Sarah observed with a mixture of awe and terror. The mining facility shook as debris from the orbital battle began entering the atmosphere. Pieces of destroyed energy nets and fragments of damaged ships created a deadly rain of superheated metal and exotic materials. Emergency shelters, now, Marcus ordered. All personnel to hardened positions. As his team scrambled for cover, Marcus maintained communication with both alien fleets. All vessels, you're endangering civilian personnel with this orbital combat. Take your fight away from our facility, Captain Theis responded first. Acknowledged, Administrator Chen. We are attempting to drive the Federation ships away from your location. The Trade Federation's reply was less accommodating. Administrator Chen, this engagement is a direct result of your interference. Surrender the assets and all hostilities will cease immediately. Marcus watched through the emergency sensors as the battle raged overhead. The refuge fleet appeared to have superior numbers, but the Trade Federation ships seemed more heavily armed. Energy beams crisscrossed the dark sky while projectiles exploded in brilliant flashes. Marcus Chen. Ashral's voice came through the communication system again. I must tell you something important. The refuge fleet operates under principles similar to your own. They believe sentient beings have inherent rights regardless of species or origin. That's encouraging, Marcus replied while debris continued to fall around the facility. But the Trade Federation will not simply retreat from this confrontation. They view any resistance to their operations as a threat to the entire galactic commerce system. They will escalate until either they recover us or we are destroyed along with anyone protecting us. The implications of Ashral's words sank in. This wasn't just about 3 refugee dragons anymore. It had become a confrontation between fundamentally different philosophies about the rights of sentient beings, and humanity, through Marcus's decisions, had chosen a side in a galactic conflict they barely understood. Sir, Torres called out over the sound of falling debris. We're receiving a transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Chen is demanding an immediate status report. Marcus looked up at the battle raging in the sky above his facility, then down at the dragon family still huddled in their warming shelters, and realized that explaining the current situation was going to require more than a standard status report. Humanity's first galactic war had begun at a mining facility on a frozen world, all because one man decided that some things were worth fighting for. The battle above Kepler 442b ended not with victory or defeat, but with the arrival of something neither side had expected. A massive human fleet dropping out of hyperspace in perfect formation. 12 heavy cruisers and their escort vessels materialized around the planet like a steel constellation, their weapons powered but not yet firing. Marcus stared at the tactical display in disbelief. How did they get here so fast? Communications Officer Park was frantically checking his equipment. Sir, I'm reading transponder codes from the Earth Defense Fleet. That's Admiral Sarah Chen's flagship, the UES Determination. The orbital battle had stopped as abruptly as it began. Trade Federation and Refuge Fleet vessels hung motionless in space, apparently as surprised by humanity's arrival as Marcus was. The communication channels erupted with activity as all 3 fleets tried to establish contact simultaneously. Admiral Chen's voice cut through the chaos with military precision. This is Admiral Sarah Chen of the United Earth Defense Fleet. All vessels will power down weapons immediately and withdraw to neutral positions. Any ship that fires while Earth vessels are in system will face immediate retaliation. Admiral, Marcus transmitted, how did you get here so quickly? We were already en route when your situation deteriorated, Marcus. Your mining facility isn't the only place where we've encountered alien activity. It seems first contact is happening across multiple fronts simultaneously. The Trade Federation vessel Profit Margin attempted to assert its authority. Earth Admiral Chen, you are interfering in lawful Trade Federation operations. Your species has no standing in galactic commerce law to... Admiral Chen cut them off with a tone that could have frozen helium. Trade Federation vessel, you fired on human civilians and infrastructure. Under Earth military doctrine, that constitutes an act of war. I suggest you reconsider your legal position. Captain Theiss of the Refuge Fleet added his voice to the discussion. Admiral Chen, the Refuge Fleet welcomes Earth's intervention on behalf of refugee families. Your species has shown remarkable compassion in this first contact scenario. Dr. Vasquez looked up from her analysis station with excitement barely contained. Marcus, the linguistic patterns from all these different species suggest there's an entire galactic community we've been unaware of. The implications for xenolinguistics alone are staggering, but Marcus was focused on more immediate concerns. Admiral, what's our diplomatic position here? We seem to have stumbled into some kind of galactic political situation. According to our intelligence analysis, Marcus, you didn't stumble into anything. These political situations exist throughout this region of space. We just finally encountered them directly. Admiral Chen's next transmission was broadcast to all vessels in the system. I'm declaring a temporary ceasefire while we establish formal diplomatic protocols. All parties will have the opportunity to present their positions through proper channels. Lieutenant Torres monitored the tactical situation as the various fleets maneuvered to non-threatening positions. Sir, the Earth ships are maintaining superior position over all alien vessels. Whatever advantages their technology might have, Our fleet came prepared for a serious fight. The Trade Federation vessel tried once more to assert its claims. Admiral Chen, Trade Federation law clearly establishes ownership of the assets currently sheltered at your facility. Galactic commerce regulations supersede local species customs. Admiral Chen's response was immediate and uncompromising. Trade Federation vessel Earth recognizes no law that treats sentient beings as property. Furthermore, any entity that attacks Earth facilities or personnel will be treated as hostile regardless of their claimed legal authority. Marcus felt a surge of pride in his species. Humanity might be new to galactic politics, but they were making their values clear from the beginning. Marcus, Ashral's voice came through the communication system. May we speak privately? Marcus established a secure channel to the Dragon family's shelter. What's on your mind, Ashral? Your people have risked much to protect my family. This confrontation could have serious consequences for humanity's future in the galaxy. The Trade Federation has significant influence with other civilizations. Are you suggesting we should have handled this differently? No, Ashral replied firmly. I am suggesting that your people are remarkable. In all our wanderings, we have encountered few species willing to risk conflict with established powers to protect refugees. Most choose the path of caution and cooperation with existing authority. Dr. Vasquez had been analyzing the ongoing communications between the various fleets. Marcus, I'm detecting complex negotiation protocols being established. It looks like this is evolving into formal diplomatic contact rather than armed confrontation. Captain Thys transmitted to the human fleet. Admiral Chen, the refuge fleet, would like to propose a formal alliance with Earth. Your species has demonstrated values that align with our own mission to protect displaced peoples throughout the galaxy. We're interested in learning more about such an alliance, Admiral Chen replied diplomatically. However, Earth will need complete information about galactic political structures before committing to any formal agreements. The Trade Federation vessel made one final attempt to salvage their mission. Admiral Chen, we are prepared to offer Earth significant trade concessions in exchange for the 3 assets currently at your facility. The commercial benefits could be substantial for your developing civilization. Marcus felt anger rise in his chest. Even in the face of superior military force, they were still trying to buy and sell Ashral's family like commodities. Admiral Chen's response reflected his own feelings. Trade Federation vessel, your offer is rejected. Earth does not engage in the sale or transfer of sentient beings under any circumstances. Consider that our official policy going forward. Over the next several hours, formal diplomatic protocols were established. The various fleets maintained their positions while representatives prepared to meet at the mining facility, which had become humanity's first interstellar embassy by accident. Marcus, Admiral Chen transmitted privately, I want you to know that your decisions here have shaped humanity's first impression on the galactic community. The refugee protection principle you established is now official Earth policy. I just did what seemed right, Admiral. Sometimes that's exactly what leadership requires. You've been officially appointed as Earth's first interstellar refugee affairs coordinator. The position comes with a significant promotion and the authority to make binding decisions about asylum requests. As the various delegations prepared for formal negotiations, Marcus looked out at Ashral's family. The juveniles were playing again, their fear forgotten in the warmth and safety of the human shelter. Ashral herself was teaching them something that might have been language lessons or philosophy. Ashral, Marcus transmitted, whatever happens in these negotiations, you and your family have a permanent home here if you want it. Marcus Chen, came the reply, you have given us more than shelter. You have shown us that there are still peoples in the galaxy who choose compassion over convenience. That lesson is worth more than any refuge. 6 months later, Mining Station Alpha 7 had been transformed into Kepler Station, humanity's first interstellar diplomatic facility. The mining operation continued, but now it shared the frozen world with a growing community of refugees from across the galaxy. Ashral had indeed chosen to stay, accepting a position as Earth's first galactic cultural liaison. Her children, Kith and Syra, were among the first students in humanity's xenological studies program, while also serving as cultural ambassadors for their own people. The Trade Federation had eventually agreed to formal diplomatic relations with Earth, though they never ceased trying to find legal loopholes that would allow them to reclaim their escaped assets. The refuge fleet had become humanity's first formal galactic allies, sharing technology and knowledge in exchange for Earth's commitment to refugee protection. Marcus Chen still served as station administrator, though his official title now included diplomatic responsibilities that spanned multiple star systems. He often reflected on that first day when a desperate alien family had approached his mining facility, seeking warmth. Sometimes the biggest changes in the galaxy began with the smallest acts of kindness, and sometimes being human meant simply doing what was right, regardless of the consequences. The frozen world of Kepler 442b had become a beacon of hope for displaced peoples throughout the galaxy, all because one mining foreman decided that some things were worth fighting for, and that sentient beings deserved protection regardless of their species or origin. In the end, that simple principle had not only saved 3 alien refugees, but had helped define humanity's place in a vast and complex galactic community. The universe, it turned out, had been waiting for a species willing to stand up for others even when it meant standing alone.